David Hanley, Vegetable and Small Fruit Specialist for the University of Maine Cooperative Extension, and we're here to talk about the basics of growing raspberries. And what I mean by the basics is how this plant works. So we're going to take a look at the different parts of the plant and what you can expect in terms of how to grow it and when it will fruit for you. The above ground part of the raspberry plant, which is what we call the canes, are biennial, and that means they live for 2 years. And the first year they come from buds up on the ground, and we call these first year canes primocanes. You can see an example of a primocane here. It's just a green shoot coming right up from the ground, and these will grow to a fairly good height depending on what variety you're growing. It could be anywhere from 4 to 7 feet tall, and we have a good growing season, of course, as well. Now, as these canes grow, every place a leaf meets the stem, as you see here, we form a little bud, and we call these axillary buds. Now, these buds stay on the cane through the first growing season and remain as buds. They'll stay dormant. This cane will overwinter, and if we have a relatively mild winter, it should come through that winter just fine. This green skin will turn to a brown bark, and in the second year of its life, we now call it a floricane. And you can see it's got that brown peeling bark on it, and this is how we know it's a second year cane. And we also see that it's got these little shoots on it, as you see here, and we call these fruiting shoots or fruiting laterals. And you can see that actually where these came from were those buds, those axillary buds that were formed on the primocane. So in the second year, when the spring comes along and these canes start to grow again, those little buds break, give us these little side shoots with what we call fruiting laterals, and this is where the fruit is going to be born. So these will have flowers and little green fruit on them, you can see now, and in a few weeks we'll be picking some nice red raspberries off of these canes. After the fruit ripens and we started harvesting, you'll notice these leaves start to turn reddish and yellow, and eventually this cane will die in the late summer or early fall. That's the end of the life for that cane, and next year's crop is coming from this year's group of primocanes. Now, the exception to the rule, there's always an exception, are those ever-bearing raspberries. The ever-bearing raspberries will form a crop both in the late spring, early summertime, and they'll have a second crop in the fall. How those work is that these first-year canes come up, just like we saw with the regular varieties of raspberry, and they form buds in these leaf axils. But the buds at the top of the crown don't go dormant. They don't wait for the winter time. They start to fruit right away, and that's where your fall crop comes from. So your fall crop is on those first year canes or those primocanes, and that's why ever-bearing raspberries are also known as primocane fruiting raspberries. Now, the buds lower down on the cane will remain dormant, just like a regular raspberry, and those will give you a regular summer crop the following year. So on ever-bearing raspberries, you get a regular summer crop on the buds low down on the cane, but you'll also get a fall crop on your primocanes on the buds at the top of the cane. We can see that in some 2-year-old canes, and you can see here's last year's crop, okay? And here's this year's crop coming on. So here are our fruiting laterals with our buds and our flowers getting ready to give us a summer crop. This is last year's crop on the 2-year cane. So here's our summer crop, and this year's fall crop is going to be coming from these primocanes right here.